The town of Grayfall wasn't on any tourist map. From a bird's-eye view it looked like a dark stain among the rolling forests, a few parallel streets, an old gas station, a church with a peeling steeple, a school that looked more like a big yellow container, and dozens of identical houses with wooden porches. By day, it was quiet here. At night, even quieter. But between 3:11 and 3:18, it was a different town. Michael Reed came back to Grayfall in early October. He sat behind the wheel of his old pickup, gripping it so hard his knuckles went white, listening to that feeling everyone knows when they return to a place they once swore to escape. He left Grayfall at 17 and swore he'd never come back. But now he was 32, his father had died of a heart attack, the house was empty, and someone had to decide what to do with it. At the entrance to town stood the old sign. Welcome to Grayfall. POP 3214. Michael slowed down. In the lower right corner, sprayed in paint, there was one more word. Or less. For some reason, that got to him. The first day was almost normal. Michael unloaded boxes, turned on the heat, wiped a thick layer of dust off the table, found one of his father's old flannel shirts in the closet and threw it over his shoulders like armor. He opened the fridge, inside it smelled of emptiness and old frozen peas. Toward evening he went into Lucky's Diner, the only place that still served coffee and something hot you could call dinner if you didn't look too closely. Reed, the waitress with the name tag, Lily asked, narrowing her eyes. You Michael Reed? He nodded. Lily Gray was a few years older than him. Once she was the girl who dreamed of New York. Now she was a woman with tired eyes, 3 kids, and a man who worked out on the highway somewhere. Thought you'd never come back here, she said. Still like cocoa? Or did you finally learn to drink coffee like the adults? Michael smiled. There was something calming about it. Like an old song you haven't heard in years but still remember every note. When he was finishing his burger, Sheriff Tom Walker came in. He was still as broad-shouldered as before, only his hair had gone gray and his stomach hung lazily over his belt. Heard you came back, he said instead of hello. You gonna have time to get used to the town's new schedule? What schedule? Michael didn't understand. Lily and Tom exchanged a look. Then Lily sighed and put another cup of cocoa in front of him like it might help. You forgot, huh? Tom said. Or no one told you? Every night. At 3:11. For 7 minutes. All the lights go out in this town. Blackouts? Power saving? Michael tried to joke. No one smiled. It's not power saving, Lily said calmly. And not an accident. Tom leaned closer. During those 7 minutes, he paused. They show up. Who's they? You, Lily said. Me. Him. Everyone. Only, not exactly us. Michael felt something cold slide down his back. He thought it was a joke. A dumb town legend to scare visitors. But there was no laughter in her eyes. At home, Michael found his father's old wall clock. He hung it in the living room. The hands ticked softly, like a countdown to something he didn't understand yet. At 2:45 he was still awake. He walked from room to room, touching the furniture he remembered from childhood. The same curtains. The same rug with the cola stain he'd made at 9. The same cracked mirror in the hallway. At 3:10 he was standing at the window, looking at the empty street. The streetlight cast a thin orange puddle on the asphalt. In the house next door, a bedroom light was still on. That was where Mrs. Marie Miller lived, the former English teacher. Then the clock ticked once more. 3:11. The light went out instantly. Not gradually, not in flickers. Just, click, and the town fell into a black pit. Even the streetlights. Even the gas station sign. Even his phone screen, which he automatically raised. He pressed the power button, but the display stayed dead like a stone. Silence came. Thicker than the dark. Silence in which he could hear his own heartbeat. At first Michael thought it really was just a power cut. Then he saw movement. Outside, where the circle of light from the street lamp had been a few seconds before, there was now a figure. Tall, slightly hunched. A man's silhouette. Michael felt like he was looking at his own shadow, only it had been peeled off him and placed in the middle of the street. He froze, pressing his back against the wall. He wanted to believe this was a dream. That he was simply exhausted from the drive. The figure stood perfectly still. Then, slowly, like a puppet pulled by old strings, it turned its head toward his window. Michael couldn't see the face. But he knew. Knew as clearly as he knew the scar on his left knee. He was looking at himself. Michael's first instinct was simple: look away. Like you look away from the mirror in the morning when you don't want to see your tired face. But he couldn't. It was like the figure nailed him to the glass with its gaze. The shape on the street came a little closer. The movements were wrong. As if the person was learning to walk again. As if the legs and arms belonged to different owners. He tried to explain what he was seeing. Maybe someone was playing a prank. Maybe it was some punk. A mask. A costume. But how do you explain the fact that at that exact moment, all light disappeared in the whole town? Even his phone, which ran on a battery, turned into a dead black tile. The figure stopped right in front of his yard. 10 meters and a thin fragile window separated them. Michael took a step back. And then he saw something else. Farther down the street, near Miller's house, stood another figure. Short, thin, with that familiar crooked posture. It was Marie Miller. Or rather, her copy. Even farther, near the gas station, two more shadows moved. It was hard to see details in the dark, but he didn't need them. The outlines alone were familiar enough. They were all them. People from this town. Only, from somewhere else. 3 minutes later, the darkness wasn't so solid anymore. His eyes were adjusting. Michael saw his double raise a hand, as if touching the air. The fingers moved slowly, like in water. His chest felt tight. He had an almost physical sense, if that one reached the door, if it knocked, something would happen. And then, someone screamed in the next house. The scream was short and choked. A woman's voice. Maybe Linda Cole from 2 houses down, or Sarah Brooks, who always left her TV on till sunrise. The scream cut off as if someone had hit a switch. Michael lunged toward the door. And in that same second he remembered the sheriff's words, "Just wait it out. Don't go outside. Don't stare. And don't open." His hand froze over the doorknob. Outside, his double still stood in the same place. As if waiting. When the clock hit 3:18, everything came back just as suddenly as it had gone. The hallway light flashed on. Streetlights poured orange light onto the asphalt again. His phone woke up in his hand and buzzed with several notifications at once. There was no one outside. The town looked ordinary. Too ordinary, like after a nightmare when you wake up in a familiar room and try to convince yourself everything is fine. Michael opened the door and stepped out onto the porch. The air was cold but real. He looked down at the asphalt. No footprints. No marks to show that moments ago his copy had been standing there. Just a deep, sticky emptiness inside. In the morning, the town went on with life. Kids walked to school, dragging their backpacks. Men in work overalls filled up their pickups at the station. At Lucky's Diner they fried bacon and poured coffee into paper cups. No one talked about the night. Or they did, just not out loud. Michael watched Lily set a coffee in front of old Marie Miller. Marie held the cup like she wasn't entirely sure what you were supposed to do with it. Last night, Michael began, sitting on a bar stool. "You saw it too." Lily didn't even lift her eyes. "We all saw it," she said. "Every night. 10 years now. 10. He almost dropped his spoon. "When did this start?" "After the storm," said a voice behind him. He turned. Sheriff Tom Walker was leaning on the counter with his elbow, looking at the TV in the corner where silent morning news played. "A storm hit us in July, 10 years ago," he said. "Lightning struck the substation out by the town line, the lines came down, half of Grayfall was without power for almost a day. Then the lights came back. But not like before." "What happened then?" Michael asked. Tom shrugged. "The first night it lasted 30 seconds. Then a minute. Then 3. Now it's 7. We don't know if that's the limit. We don't know anything. And the shadows. Are they always us?" Michael asked. Tom finally looked him straight in the eye. "At first we thought they were just shadows," he said. "But a few months in, a woman saw her shadow with a scar she didn't have. A year later, a kid saw himself with burns on his face. Next day he was in a wreck." "You mean to say?" "No one wants to say anything," Lily cut in. "People here just live by rules. They don't go outside at 3:11. They don't look out the windows. They don't try to film it on their phones." Michael was silent. Last night he'd already broken one of those rules. And he had the feeling it still wasn't the worst mistake he was going to make. That night he set his alarm for 3:05. Not because he wanted to, he forced himself. There are things that scare you, but the thought of pretending they never happened scares you even more. The phone beeped at 3:05. Michael sat up in bed, ran his hands over his face, felt familiar features under his fingers. No new scars. No foreign pieces. He went to the living room, turned off all the lights himself, left only a small desk lamp on. Just to check, would it go out too? The clock on the wall ticked louder than yesterday. 3:10. This time he didn't stand at the window. He stood in the hallway. There was a mirror that reflected part of the street behind him. Michael decided he would look only into the mirror. It felt less direct, less dangerous. 3:11. The light went out, and the desk lamp too. Darkness covered him like a blanket too heavy to throw off. The mirror became a black rectangle. Then, slowly, deep inside that black, shapes started forming. At first he thought he was just seeing himself. Pale face. Shirt. A figure in half-darkness. But something was wrong with the eyes. They weren't looking slightly off to the side, like when you catch your reflection at an angle. They were looking straight at him. Forehead to forehead. As if there was no glass, no space between them. Michael felt the cold sink into his chest. The double in the mirror slowly raised a hand. Same fingers. Same old scar on the thumb from a school cutter. But when the double pressed his palm to the glass from that side, Michael noticed another detail, a wedding ring. A simple silver band on the ring finger. Michael didn't have one. The dog in the neighboring yard started barking. The sound came dull and muted, like through water. Somewhere on the street someone whispered, don't look," but the voice was strange and far away. In the mirror, the double started talking. His lips moved slowly, clearly. Michael couldn't hear the sound, but he could read the words. "You shouldn't be here." Then the mouth changed shape. "This time, we're closer." In that moment something buzzed in his pocket. His phone. But nothing worked at 3:11 here. He pulled it out, and in the dark the screen flickered with a weak, sick light. On the display it said, "Sender, unknown. Message, outgoing voice note, 012. Outgoing. Meaning as if he had recorded it. His hands shook as he hit play. At first there was silence. Then he heard his own voice. It was hoarse, as if he were speaking through a pillow or water. "If you are still there, don't stay past Wednesday," that voice said, the same but with a layer of foreign fear. We're almost." The recording cut out. The phone went dark. The darkness was solid again. In the mirror the double smiled. It was a very careful smile. The kind people give each other at funerals. 3:18. The light came back in a flash. The mirror reflected only his own pale, exhausted face again. No ring. No double. In the morning Michael found another familiar figure at Lucky's diner. On the far bench sat Emily Clark. They'd gone to the same school. She'd always sat in the back row, drawing in her notebook, rarely looking anyone in the eye. Now she taught elementary school, lived alone, and came to the diner at the same hour, ordered the same tea with lemon. "Heard you're back," she said when he came up. "How are the first nights?" "You see them too?" he asked. Emily laughed. Dry, without joy. "Everyone sees them, Mike. We just don't all admit it. And we don't all see the same thing." He sat down across from her. "What do you see?" he asked carefully. Emily bit her lip. Her fingers tightened around the cup until her knuckles turned white. "I see my son," she said. "He's running down the street and waving at me from that other side. I don't have a son. He was never born. But there he is." Her shoulders trembled. She spoke about it calmly, Michael thought. Too calmly. Like people who have already made several circles through their own personal hell. "Another reality, right?" he said quietly. "Where things went differently." "Or ours, just later," she answered. "No one knows. Some people think we're the shadows. And they're the real ones." She looked at him with cold, tired eyes. "Sometimes I think that at 3:11 the real world just corrects us," Emily said. "And one day one of us won't wake up in our version." Grayfall had its own town legends long before the storm. The old mine on the edge of town where people had once died. The path in the woods everyone avoided. The lake where, they said, strange lights were seen. But now all the old scary stories faded beside the one daily reality. At 3:11, darkness arrived on schedule. Some tried to fight it their own way. A teenager named Jason Morris believed everything could be explained if you got it on camera. He walked around town with his old Canon, set up tripods, chased reflections, shot infrared video. "If we record it," he told Michael one evening, "we can show it to the world. People will come. Scientists. Journalists. Someone will do something. And if they don't?" Michael asked. "And if they just put up a detour sign and forget?" Jason shrugged. "Can't be worse than now," he said. "Or it can. But at least we'll know why." That night they decided to try together. They set cameras up in Michael's house. One in the living room, pointed at the window. One in the hallway, pointed at the mirror. One on the porch, aimed at the street. "All batteries are charged," Jason said, checking the indicators. "Plenty of storage. We'll see if it all goes dark for them too." "You think tech on their side works differently?" Michael joked nervously. "I think if there are two worlds, each one has its own rules," the kid said. "And we're sitting between them like a fish in two waters." 3:09. They turned the lights off themselves and left only a little flashlight on the table. 3:10. Silence. Even the fridge stopped humming, though they hadn't touched it. 3:11. This time Michael was ready for the darkness. But what happened still knocked the ground out from under him. Everything went. And yes, along with everything else, the tiny red LED lights on the cameras went out. "Damn," Jason whispered. He didn't finish. Because right in front of them, in the darkness of the living room, something moved. Not outside the window. Inside. A shape stepped out of the corner, like a shadow that had decided to become solid. Michael recognized himself. The same self he'd seen in the street, in the mirror. Only now there was almost no distance between them. Jason backed away until he bumped into the table. His breathing went short and fast. "You see this?" he whispered. "I wish I didn't," Michael answered. The double stopped a few steps away. The ring still shone on his hand. His face held a strange mix of emotions, sadness, relief, and something else. Like he was looking at a long-lost brother. Suddenly they heard a rustle behind them. They turned at the same time. In the hallway, in the dark, stood two more shapes. One taller. One thin and nervous. Jason almost swore. He stammered. "That's us." His double moved differently. He held a camera, but not the model Jason had brought today. A different one, with a different strap. And on his t-shirt there was something dark smeared across the chest. Like blood stains. All four of them, they froze for a moment like actors before a scene. Then something cracked. It was the sound of wood under strain. Or air being torn. Michael suddenly felt the floor under his feet change a little. The room seemed different. The ceiling lower. The air heavier. For a second he saw something in the corner of the living room that didn't exist in his version of the house, a child's chair. Plastic, with paint stains. A little toy car next to it. In the dark, a child's laugh sounded. Short. Too cheerful for this place. "You heard that?" Michael whispered. Jason didn't get to answer. Because in the next second their doubles raised their hands at the same time, repeating the same motion with a slight delay, like an echo. The hands reached forward. Towards them. 3:18. The light hit their eyes like a punch. The cameras all beeped back to life. The room was just a normal furnished emptiness again. "Tell me at least one of those cameras caught something," Michael rasped. Jason rushed to the closest one, pressing buttons. The display flickered, showing video. They scrubbed to 3:11. Instead of darkness, there was light. As if in that other version of the room, nobody turned the lamps off. In the frame stood them and Jason. Only some of their movements weren't exactly what they remembered. And on that other Michael's hand there was a ring. And behind them, on the couch, sat a little girl staring straight into the camera. "I don't have kids," Michael repeated, as if words alone could change something. "I've never had kids." They rewound the clip again and again. The girl didn't vanish. Every time she sat there on the couch, in simple pajamas with a teddy bear, swinging her legs, staring without blinking. "Maybe it's an overlay," Jason said weakly. "A glitch. An artifact." "I saw her chair," Michael answered quietly. "For a few seconds. I saw it." They sat at his kitchen table, the laptop open between them, the video paused on the screen. The girl's face frozen in a half-smile. "You need to talk to the old folks," Jason said suddenly. "The ones who remember before the storm. There's this guy. Henry Collins. Lives in a weird house near the mine." The name rang a bell. As kids they'd called him Crazy Henry. The old man who walked around town with cardboard signs and yelled that the world has already split. They used to laugh at him. "They say he was in the mine when the collapse happened," Jason added. "Maybe it's all connected." Henry's house stood on the outskirts, where asphalt turned to gravel, then to a muddy road leading to the overgrown mine shaft tower. Old newspapers lay on the porch, and an iron wind chime hung over the door. The old man didn't open right away. When the door finally cracked, they saw a man with a white beard and eyes that had seen too many sleepless nights. "You're Jack Reed's boy," he said instead of hello. You look like him back when he still thought everything could be drunk away. Michael nodded. They told me you know more about this town than others, he said. Others don't want to know, Henry corrected him. Come in. Inside, it smelled of dust, old coffee, and metal. The walls were covered with photos of the mine, technical diagrams, newspaper clippings. You came to ask about 311, Henry said, not even pretending he didn't know. They all come sooner or later. The ones who can still ask questions. Why is it happening? Michael asked bluntly. And who are they? The old man smiled a crooked, humorless smile. When I worked in the mine, he began, there was a tunnel that wasn't on the plans. The old-timers said it was dug before the war. That tunnel didn't lead where the seams should have been. The air felt different there. Heavier. The light from our lamps lagged behind the movement a little. He ran his finger along one of the photos. The day of the collapse we were right by that tunnel, Henry said. At 3:11, to be exact. I remember that time clearly. The clock fell with me, but I saw it before. When everything caved in, some of the men didn't die. They disappeared. No bodies. No traces. Like someone erased them. You're saying they're there now? Jason asked. I'm saying, the old man said quietly, the world isn't alone. Sometimes the layers touch. That day in the mine, they touched. In the storm 10 years ago, too. Now, it happens every night. Or rather, every night we see what's already here. We step into the same second again. He stared at Michael for a long, careful moment. You saw yourself with a ring, didn't you? He asked. And a kid you don't have. Michael felt the cold on his spine again. How did you? This isn't the first time. And you're not the first. There are others who see themselves different. With different choices, different losses. Different mistakes. Some with injuries they don't have here. Yet. Yet? Jason repeated. Yet, Henry confirmed. Because there's something you boys haven't understood. Time doesn't move the same for us and for them. He walked to the window and pulled the curtain aside. You think they're coming to us, he said. But maybe we're going to them. For a moment. For those damned 7 minutes. And one day, one of us won't make it back. When they left, evening was already dropping over the town. The light outside was soft, golden. It looked almost normal. You think he's just a crazy old man? Jason asked as they headed to the truck. Michael didn't answer. One thought circled in his head, don't stay past Wednesday. It was Monday. On Tuesday something happened that broke even the fragile balance everyone had gotten used to. At 3:11, darkness came like always. People sat behind shut curtains, kept their hands away from doorknobs, tried not to look toward the windows. But that night, for some of them, the light didn't go out completely. In Emily Clark's house, one lamp stayed on. Dim, flickering, but it didn't die. She sat on the floor by the door, arms around her knees, and suddenly she could see everything. The street. The shadows. Her son, running along the sidewalk, waving at her from that other side. Mom, he yelled silently, with his lips. Come on. Emily choked. Her heart hammered, her hands shook. Somewhere far back in her mind, a quiet, very smart voice said, don't open. Just don't open. She stood up. Her fingers touched the cold metal of the lock. On the other side someone touched it too. But there, the handle was different. Different house. Different version. The motion, though, was the same. They stood separated by an inch of wood, and two realities. 3:13. At that moment in Michael's house, it was different. He was in the hallway, staring into the mirror, which this time stayed completely black. No reflection. No doubles. Just darkness. Then, a small hand pressed against the inside of the glass. A child's hand. The little palm flattened against the surface. On the other side, where his reflection should have been, Michael laid his own palm on it. A few millimeters separated them. "I don't know you," he whispered. "But it feels like I should." In response, something shifted lightly in the dark. Like someone else stepped closer. He saw the shadow of a face. His own. A bit older. More tired. With a ring. The double's lips formed words again, and now Michael could read them without sound. "Get out of here. While you still can." 3:18. This time the light didn't come back everywhere. In Emily's house the door was open. Keys lay on the floor. She sat on the porch staring at the empty street. Her eyes were dry, her face empty. "He was here," she repeated. "He was here." No one found child-sized footprints in her yard. But in some house on that other side, maybe someone finally came home. On Wednesday, Michael packed. He loaded a few boxes, documents, his laptop, too little clothing for someone who didn't know where he was going, into the pickup. He didn't say goodbye to anyone. Not because he didn't want to. Because something inside whispered, if you say it out loud, you won't leave. The road out of town was a lonely ribbon through the forest. The trees stood still, like dark watchers. The clock on the truck's dash read 2:40. "I've got half an hour," he thought. "I can make it past the town line. I'll be somewhere else. Some other place. Some other life." Just past the Welcome to Grayfall sign, a roadwork truck blocked the way. Its yellow flashers blinked, but nobody moved. Michael slowed and got out. "Are you gonna be done soon?" he called, but no one answered. When he came closer, he saw the cab was empty. The door hung open. A rusty radio hissed, catching bits of phrases. 3:11, again, coincidence. The clock on his dashboard flickered. 2:58. He turned. The forest seemed thicker than when he drove in. As if the trees had stepped closer. The road behind him was empty, but he had the sudden feeling that if he walked farther on foot, he'd end up right back where he started. Like a bad looping video. He got back into the truck and, without turning on the radio, drove back toward town. 2:59. He burst into Lucky's diner with wide eyes. "I can't get out," he said, "not even sitting. The road, it's like it's looped. No one's there. There's a truck by the exit, but it's empty." Lily slowly set down the mug she'd been washing. "So you got your warning, too," she said. "What?" Sheriff Tom came out from the back. "Some of us got calls," he said. "Others, messages. Some, visions. Something on that side doesn't want us to leave. And something else, really wants us to. Or to switch places." 3:05. The diner grew quieter. Even the coffee machine fell silent. "What do we do?" Michael asked. Tom pressed his lips together. "The same as always," he said. "We sit and wait." But tonight, he looked at the window, where the evening had gone darker than it should have. Tonight feels different. 3:10. Michael went back home. Running made no sense. He went into the living room, sat in front of the mirror, and placed his phone on the table. "If it records again," he said out loud, "at least something will be left." Somewhere in the house, the clock ticked off the last normal seconds. 3:11. This time the darkness didn't drop all at once. It slowly seeped into the corners like black water filling cracks. First one lamp died. Then another. Then the phone. Then, everything. Only the mirror in front of him didn't go completely black. Something glowed inside it. Soft, weak light, like a lamp in another room. He saw himself. That other self. Sitting the same way, phone in hand. On the other side. Between them was the feeling of a thin membrane. Something still holding, but already cracking. In the corner, as always, stood the child's chair. Only this time he heard the girl's voice, not as if from far away, but very close. "Dad," she said. "It's time." There was no fear or joy in her voice. Just a statement of fact. The double lifted his eyes to Michael. They were wet and tired. "You want to know what happens if you stay?" his lips whispered silently. "Stay. You want to know what happens if you go? It's already too late." Somewhere behind, in the house, Michael heard a door open. Like someone came in. Or stepped out. Heavy footsteps. Whether on his side or the other, he couldn't tell. 3:17. The second stretched. He felt the whole town holding its breath. In some house, someone stood at a door like Emily had. In another, someone looked out a window, breaking all the rules. Far away, old Henry might have been sitting in the dark counting which night this was. In the mirror, two realities came so close the difference between them was almost invisible. Michael reached out his hand. He didn't know who he was reaching for. Himself? The child? The chance to be someone else, in another life he hadn't lived? His fingers touched the surface. The thin membrane cracked. The light came on. Not sharply. Slowly. Like dawn. Michael was sitting in front of the mirror. He saw in the reflection his house. His chair. His phone. And, the child's chair in the corner. Something glinted on the ring finger of his left hand. A simple silver wedding band. He slowly raised his hand, staring at it like he'd never seen it before. Outside, the town was quiet. Too quiet. No cars. No voices. Just the wind moving as softly as it always had. His phone buzzed. New voice message. Sender, unknown. He hit play. His own voice, a little strange, said, "If you're hearing this, it means one of us made a choice. Look around. If you recognize this town, run. If you don't, welcome to another version of the same place." The recording cut. Outside, under the streetlight, a figure stood. It looked like him. No ring. No child's toys in the house behind him. None of what was here. They stared at each other through glass and something else that had no name. 3:18. This time the clock kept ticking. But somewhere far below, deep underground where the old mine tunnels had long been sealed, something shifted very slightly. As if the parallel world had also thought, not today. But soon. Grayfall went on living. In two realities. In two versions of the same story. And every night at 3:11 someone asked themselves the same question now living in Michael's head. What if I'm the shadow this time? There was no answer. Which could only mean one thing. The story wasn't over yet.